The medical bay's entrance slid open with a pneumatic hiss and Dr. Vren stopped dead in his tracks. 3 massive forms blocked the doorway to Lily's quarantine room. Their obsidian-scaled bodies coiled like springs ready to unleash violence. The largest of them, Shadow if Vren remembered correctly, fixed 6 luminous amber eyes on the Cathari physician and released a low, grumbling growl that vibrated through the deck plating. "I need to examine the human," Vren said, keeping his voice steady despite the primal fear clawing at his 4-chambered heart. "Her fever hasn't broken in 48 hours. Shadow's ridge of bioluminescent quills flared crimson, a warning display that Vren had seen precede dismemberment on multiple occasions. The Valdrin were apex predators from a death world where even the plants hunted prey. These weren't just any Valdrin. They were cubs, barely 3 cycles old, and somehow that made them more unpredictable. More dangerous. "She's under our protection," Shadow's translator crackled, the device struggling to convert his subsonic vocalizations into galactic standard. "You make her cry with needles. You make her hurt." Behind Shadow, his siblings, Fang and Claw, equally creative names that Lily had given them, shifted their bulk. Their claws, each as long as Vren's forearm, scraped against the medical bay's reinforced floor, leaving score marks in the titanium composite. "I'm trying to help her," Vren insisted, pulling up his datapad to show vital readings. "Look, her core temperature is 41 degrees Celsius. That's dangerous for a human. Without intervention, she could suffer permanent neurological damage." Shadow leaned forward, his massive head nearly touching Vren's chest. The doctor could smell the metallic tang of the predator's breath, see his own reflection in those alien eyes. "Then you explain." "To her, not to us. She decides." This was unprecedented. In all his years serving aboard the Wandering Star, Vren had never needed permission from anyone except his patient to provide medical care. But he'd also never encountered a bond quite like this one. Lily had found the cubs 6 months ago on a routine survey mission to Valdris Prime. They were orphaned, their mother killed by a rival pack, huddled in a cave and slowly starving. By all logic, they should have torn her apart the moment she approached. Humans were soft, weak, covered in vulnerable flesh with no natural weapons to speak of. Easy prey. But Lily had done something no Valdrin expected. She'd cried. Not from fear, but from empathy. She'd sat down outside their cave and wept for 3 young predators who'd lost everything. And somehow, impossibly, they'd understood. They'd emerged from the darkness and pressed their enormous heads against her small body. And in that moment, an imprint had formed that transcended species. Logic or galactic law, the Valdrin bonded for life. Once they chose a pack, they would die protecting it. Lily had become their pack of one. And now that she was vulnerable, sick with some alien pathogen her immune system couldn't identify, they had reverted to their most basic instinct. "Guard the den." "All right," Vren said, carefully tucking his datapad into his medkit. "I'll ask her." Shadow studied him for a long moment, then stepped aside. His siblings followed suit, creating a narrow corridor of scaled flesh and barely contained lethality. Vren walked through, acutely aware that any wrong move could end his existence in a spray of crimson. The quarantine room was dark, lit only by the soft blue glow of monitoring equipment. Lily lay on the medical pod, her small human frame dwarfed by the Valdrin-sized furniture. Her skin, normally a warm brown, had taken on a gray pallor, and her breathing came in shallow gasps. Fever had plastered her dark hair to her forehead. "Lily?" Vren approached slowly, his hooves clicking softly on the floor. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glassy. "Shadow?" "He's here. They're all here." Vren glanced back at the doorway where 3 sets of amber eyes watched with laser focus. "They won't let me help you unless you say it's okay. Your fever is dangerously high." A weak smile crossed Lily's lips. "They're good boys." From the doorway came a pleased rumble that sounded like boulders grinding together. "I need to give you an injection," Vren explained, pulling a hypo spray from his kit. "It will help fight the infection. But last time you had an adverse reaction to the needle. You cried out, and they almost ate you," Lily whispered, the memory bringing a soft laugh that turned into a coughing fit. "Sorry about that. Will you tell them it's all right? That I'm not hurting you?" Lily turned her head toward the doorway, and despite the fever ravaging her system, her voice carried surprising strength. "Shadow, Fang, Claw, it's okay. The doctor is packed too. He's trying to help." The change was instantaneous. The tension that had filled the room like a living thing dissipated. Shadow entered, moving with surprising grace for something so massive, and positioned himself beside Lily's pod. He lowered his great head and gently nuzzled her hand with his snout, careful not to nick her with his rows of serrated teeth. "Pack protects pack," Shadow rumbled. "Always." Vren administered the injection, and this time, when Lily winced, Shadow didn't lunge. Instead, he began to emit a low, rhythmic purr, a sound that Valdrin typically reserved for their dying, a final comfort before the long dark. But this wasn't a death song. This was something else, something that their species used to soothe their young. The sound seemed to ease Lily's breathing. Her body relaxed, and within minutes the monitoring equipment showed her temperature beginning to drop. "Remarkable," Vren murmured, taking readings. "Your proximity is having a measurable therapeutic effect." Fang and Claw entered now, lying down on either side of the medical pod, creating a wall of scaled armor around their human. Shadow rested his massive head on the edge of the pod, never breaking eye contact with Lily. "Humans are strange," Shadow said to Vren, his translator giving his words a contemplative tone. "Soft, weak, break easy. But she saw us when we were small and broken, and she didn't see prey. She saw Cub's family. She saved you," Vren observed. "No," Shadow corrected, his quills shifting to a soft amber glow. "We saved each other. That's what pack means. That's what she taught us." Vren watched as Lily's hand reached up, fingers tangling in the bioluminescent quills along Shadow's neck. Even in her fever-weakened state, even with apex predators surrounding her, she felt safe. And they, these creatures who could devastate entire squads of trained soldiers, were gentle as they guarded her rest. It was then that Dr. Vren understood something fundamental about humans that the Galactic Council had missed in all their assessments and studies. Humans weren't remarkable because they were strong or violent or technologically advanced. They were remarkable because they had an infinite capacity to love the unloved, to see family in the alien, to bridge the impossible gulf between species with nothing more than compassion and tears. And beings like the Valdrin, predators who knew only pack law and survival, would recognize that truth and pledge their lives to protect it. As Vren left the medical bay, he paused at the entrance and looked back. 3 massive predators and 1 small human, intertwined in the darkness, breathing as one. A pack that defied evolution itself. "Dr. Vren," Shadow's voice called out. "Thank you for asking permission." "That was respectful," the doctor nodded. "That was pack behavior, wasn't it?" Shadow's quills flared green, amusement, Vren had learned. "Yes, you're learning. Maybe you can be pack too." As the door slid shut, Vren found himself smiling. The galaxy was vast and strange, filled with countless species and infinite diversity. But perhaps the most alien thing of all was also the most universal. The desperate need to belong, to protect, to love. And humans, those fragile, impossible humans, seemed to understand that better than anyone.